to bomb Syria. John McCain's there. See what's going on, folks? We've got to take a quick break. More on the flip side of this. We're going to probably stay on this topic a majority of the hour. Second hour, we'll try to talk more of the 4th anniversary of the John Lebang Show. We'll try to keep it a little lighter in the second hour. Be right back. Stay tuned. Now, don't get your panties all worked up.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
And you'll love it. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too.
That's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking like that. We've spent and Lindsey Graham, who backs him, who had 0 on his poll.
So apparently when you're running for president, you can say whatever you want about the Syrian conflict, how bad the decisions were in getting involved in the Middle East, that the WMDs weren't in Iraq. Guess they're in Syria now. They weren't in Iraq. Now they're in Syria. I guess Saddam Hussein sent them over there. I don't know what happened.
Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake. All right? Now, you can take it any way you want.
Don't you love it that the news was in place and they could show you the pretty little streaks across the sky? They had the camera perfectly set. Oh, look at... We don't, this is an operation, We're not supposed to tell our enemies, Mr. President. You said Obama was stupid during his presidency for letting the enemy know what we were going to do. Yet, you all week, we're going to bomb them, we're going to do something, we're going to talk about it, The news media had their cameras right there. CBS had their camera, and you could see the little streak across the screen. It was made for TV. It's a slow night on Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's a slow night on Friday, or at least when it comes to the media, people are out. They worked all week. They don't want to sit in front of TV. They've been sitting in front of TV all week. This is usually a good night to go out. Well, usually the ratings are down on Friday, so let's have something important happen Friday, after the regular news cycle, because just in case it doesn't work out so well, we have the whole weekend to let it kind of settle down before people get back into it all. I'm really flustered about this whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not what Donald Trump said he was going to do. He was going to keep us out of these kind of things. I guess that extra money they got for the military is being used right now. They say, oh, shoot, we've got money. Let's use it. Let's use it now. Let's not save those bombs, those extra bombs we're buying. Maybe these are old ordinances, so they can, let's just use them up so we can buy new stuff. It's getting old, whatever. They may not be as powerful as they used to be. Who knows, right? They're outdated. Obviously, they're outdated. Syria shot down a bunch of them. Whether it's 13, whether it's 70, we don't know. The United States is going to say one thing. The Russians in Syria are going to say another. The propaganda has become... is being executed in full force right now. Both sides are giving you their side of the story, and it's probably filled with lies on both sides. You can't trust any politician. You can't trust the Russians. You can't trust the Syrians. You can't trust the people running the United States government, the people in the intelligence agencies, the people in the military-industrial complex. We've had presidents warn us about people in the military-industrial complex who will want to start wars for, well, money purposes. They want to make money, and we just signed a bunch of money over to the military, a lot of extra money, biggest whatever budget in whatever years. Those conscientious conservatives on the Republican side who hated deficits during the Obama administration are just fine with them when their guy's in office. I don't even know if he's their guy, but they're in charge right now, even though it looks like they're going to lose seats in the upcoming election, which is pretty normal in the ebb and flow of American politics. We just shift. We get tired of the Democrats, so we shift to the Republicans. Then we get tired of the Republicans, and then we shift to the Democrats. And all the while, the agenda continues. We have taken out practically every major power in the Middle East, minus Saudi Arabia, who, I'm just saying, we still haven't dealt with the fact that most of the people in 9/11, those attackers, those people that stole the plane and flew them into buildings, most of those people were Saudis, and we haven't done anything to the Saudi government at all. We attacked Iraq, we attacked Afghanistan, we've taken out Libya, now we're taking out Syria, or we're trying to take out Syria. Russia sees all this, by the way. They're like, wait a minute, you guys are taking out countries that have nothing to do with that attack on 9/11. Again, most of the hijackers were Saudi. Why didn't we invade Saudi Arabia? Why didn't we take out that country? Why do we still, to this day, support that country and give them military weapons or sell them military weapons? There's a lot of questions. Why is the agenda continuing when we had a president who said he would drain the swamp? Well, there's not much draining of the swamp. And all week, this has been a major news topic. And what did we get all week? We got Zucker screwball up there with his high chair in front of a committee. Oh, made for TV. Oh, Facebook. And then we got the Mueller thing, and then the Comey book. All irrelevant stuff. All stuff that doesn't matter. All the while we have a military conflict brewing. And if you think this was based on a chemical weapons attack, you might need to look into what's been going on in Syria. Yes, according to our own government, people inside our own government and the possible Secretary of State coming in, we took out Russian troops inside Syria. Can you tell me why we did that? Is there any explanation why we did that? And this schmeckle, here, I'll play it again.
This administration announced a nuclear posture review that has put Russia on notice that we're going to recapitalize our deterrent force in Syria. Now, a handful of weeks ago, the Russians met their match, and a couple hundred Russians were killed. The list of actions that this administration has taken, I'm happy to walk through each of them, but I don't want to take up much more time.
And I appreciate that.
The list is pretty long, man.
And I certainly agree with that, and I think those actions are important.
Listen how pompous this guy is, this Pompeo. Listen how arrogant he is. Oh, we wiped the floor with them. We taught him a lesson. That's what he's saying. Russia's nothing. We got this. We got this. They don't even care that we're drawing nearer and nearer to a war with Russia. If we're not already in World War III with these guys. Because this is not going to be the fight where it's going to be like taking out Libya. That was easy. That was you bombed. Eventually you were going to get Gaddafi, right? This isn't as easy as Iraq, and that wasn't entirely an easy thing. We're still having problems there. And one of our arch enemies has pretty much taken over the country, Iran. You're telling me that the agenda that was set forth way back in the first Bush administration, George H.W. Bush, that New World Order speech that he gave, and he went into Iraq way back then, and then all the governments that have been toppled since that initial action in the Middle East.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
And we continue to go about this, even though the president railed against this. We shouldn't be in the Middle East. Why are we there? I don't know. The president himself, while he was running for election, questioned the reason why we've been in the Middle East.
They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none.
Claimed many times. He was right. We shouldn't have went to Iraq. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have done that. Then why are we in Syria? What are we doing there, Mr. President? It was like a year ago that you said we were going to pull out the boots on the ground that we had in Syria. Obviously, we haven't done that, even though you said we did, or we were going to. Now, beyond the fact that we're attacking a sovereign country and we have troops inside a sovereign country trying to affect some kind of regime change there. Again, we have regime change. That's all our government has done over the past 20-some years. This country has regime change. The other country has regime change. We tried helping the Muslim Brotherhood have regime change inside Egypt, and the military didn't stand for it because the people we helped put in power were more brutal than the people that were there before. And it's pretty much the same way in Iraq. We go to Iraq, we topple Saddam Hussein, who had a pretty good control on the terrorist group. And he was the nice opposition to Iran. We didn't have to worry about spending money to deal with Iran on the level we do now. But now Saddam's gone. Terrorists invaded Iraq. Iran's now having political influence inside of Iraq. What side are we on? Do we even think of the long-term repercussions of our actions? Or is it because we're just tired of some guy because he didn't want to do something we wanted him to do? Or it was time for him to go because of whatever reason our politicians, our intelligent networks decided that this guy is no longer useful. This regime is no longer useful. So let's have regime change. Shoot, we take out Gaddafi and that guy gave us all his chemical weapons. He said, here, take it. We don't want you coming in here like you did Iraq. And what happened? We killed him anyways, didn't we? The guy surrenders his chemical weapons, and the United States and the West, the New World Order, said, that's not good enough. We don't want you, Gaddafi, so we're going to invoke some kind of regime change. We just happen to kill you, get rid of you. That's good. Goodbye. Regime change, although now Libya's worse off than it has ever been, just like Iraq. Worse off than it has ever been. We get our foot in Syria, and that country was worse off than it ever was. They finally start winning. They've got the rebels on the verge of defeat. And an apparent desperate move by the Assad regime. Because isn't that what a chemical weapon attack is? It's a desperate move. It's kind of a last resort. If you're winning, you don't use a chemical weapon. You just go in there and keep winning.
I believe there was a chemical attack, and we're looking for the actual evidence.
Do I have proof that he did or didn't do it? No, I don't have proof. The United States government doesn't exactly have proof. They themselves have said the inspectors haven't been able to get in there to check this.
We're trying to get those inspectors in if we get them in, if the regime will let them in. We will not know who did it. They can only say that they found evidence or did not.
The Russians